Sometimes you just got to laugh. However, blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning. More of your phone calls next. First, we go to Scott Whitlock joining us from newsbusters.org. Good morning, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Good to have you with us. You're with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. So, what's the latest concerning Judge Kavanaugh and the media?
Well, I think, look, since he was announced as the nominee, the coverage has been negative. But since all these accusations came out, the coverage has just gotten 1,000 times worse, to use a hyperbole. We've done studies that have shown that overwhelmingly the networks are covering just the accusations and giving like almost no time to Kavanaugh's defense. We actually looked at every single hour in a 24-hour period on CNN and found that they gave just a grand total of 5 minutes to pro-Kavanaugh evidence. So it's bad. And it's not getting worse, and I don't think it's going to get worse even if he's confirmed, because I don't think the liberals in the media are going to let this go, and I certainly don't think the Democrats are going to let this go.
So what's next?
Well, we're heading towards a preliminary vote on Friday, and then it looks like a final vote sometime over the weekend. So I think you're just going to continue to hear this spin that he's guilty. You're going to see a lot of hypocrisy coming from the networks. I wrote an article yesterday pointing out that CBS this morning brought on, if you can believe it, Chelsea Clinton to talk about Kavanaugh and sexual abuse and sexual harassment. And at no time in that interview was there ever any mention of her father, of Juanita Broaddrick, of Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, any of the women that her father abused allegedly, or in the case of Juanita Broaddrick, raped. So that's the kind of hypocrisy that we've been seeing on the networks.
Well, and, you can get it at newsbusters.org. Scott, what do you make of that, though? I mean, here you have Chelsea Clinton on. They don't ask her about her dad. Where's the fairness? Where is Cory Booker on that one?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't any. Or we can just use other examples, like how they've been ignoring these accusations against Congressman Keith Ellison. But with Chelsea specifically, it's so galling that these networks, these journalists who say that they care about this issue, it really shows you that they don't. This is about putting a conservative on the court, because if it were about sexual abuse, harassment, rape, which are very serious and important issues, then you would say to Chelsea Clinton, well, what about your father? What about how sexual abuse was looked at in the 90s and how it was kind of diminished, and the fact that Bill Clinton did all these things and people in the Democratic Party and in the liberal media just basically said, well, that's his private life. They didn't really care. That shows you that this isn't really about the issue. It's about, like I said, getting a conservative on the Supreme Court, and Democrats and liberals in the media are doing everything they can to stop that.
What about the attacks on Kavanaugh's kids?
Well, that's just disgusting. But yeah, you have people. A lot of those attacks are so low that you're going to see that more on something like Bill Maher, where Bill Maher in his show kind of made jokes about it. We saw cartoons in a Illinois newspaper that made jokes about it. But, I mean, that is really completely below the belt and disgusting. And the hypocrisy when it comes to liberals in the actual, quote-unquote, mainstream news media is that they don't call that out. And we've seen that anytime there was some sort of disgusting attack about, let's say, Michelle Obama or the Obama's kids, that was called out in the media, as it should have been, because I don't think Republican or Democrat, you shouldn't expose family members to those types of attacks. But for a lot of liberals in the media, they only get mad when it's a Democrat who's the victim.
So besides you and a few others, how do you hold the media accountable?
Well, look, I would say that the fact that you have the power of the mainstream media receding, the ratings for a lot of these networks going down, and some of these newspapers as well, is a sign that people are tuning out the the mainstream media. They certainly still have power, and we have to hold them account. But this isn't like the 60s, 70s, and 80s when you have Walter Cronkite saying that's the way it is. It's different now. We have talk radio, we have the internet, you have conservative voices on Fox News, you have the Media Research Center, you have these sorts of different outlets and avenues for people who don't want to just get their media from the mainstream media. And I would say that I think is the solution, is you really have to diversify where you're getting your news and not just trust from ABC, CBS, and NBC. And whether one likes Trump or not, I would say that the 2016 election media bias and the agenda of the liberal media became an issue. And I think it's not going to stop being an issue. I think it clearly is in the midterms, and it's going to be again in 2020. And I think those are good things because people need to wake up to what's going on.
Mr. Whitlock, we appreciate having you on. Newsbusters.org. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Jason, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jason.
Hey, Kevin, it's Jason from Boise. I got three quick things for you.
Sure.
First, on the Kavanaugh thing, I saw in the news yesterday that senator from, the one from New Jersey, Gropey Booker.
Yes.
So he's kind of backpedaling, saying that Kavanaugh should step down or step away from this just because so many accusations have been thrown at him. And when I read that, all I could think of is they know they got nothing on him. They got nothing, so now they got to keep grasping at straws. Second, with the quote unquote race for Idaho governor, I'm not the kind of guy that does a lot of deep research on candidates. Most of what I hear on the news and stuff, and all I can think of is Brad Little qualifications. He was lieutenant governor and a Republican. He's going to win. And then you have Paulette Jordan, and what are her qualifications? She's a woman and Native American. And then I don't know anything else about her, but she's not going to win anyway. She doesn't stand a chance. And then number three, I don't know if you're familiar with the Facebook Marketplace, but I think there's more people that are panhandling there than in downtown Boise. That's all I got. Jason out.
He was a quick one there, R&R. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
But humorous and brevity and actually speaking succinct and concise. Yeah, I have a concept. When the weather changes like this, I came from a really, really heavy precipitation place in the world called Oregon in the Columbia Gorge. First of all, I think it's real important that people just slow down. Those speed limits that are posted are for best of conditions and full light and not rain. And I just don't like to hear about accidents and fatalities. So, and it's dark when the kids are going to school. So if people are just we're not in a big hurry to get anywhere, especially to the morgue or to the hospital. I think here's what I think. I think you have an amazing capacity for valor and to speak the truth. And one of your gifts among several in your quiver are you have the ability to talk to many, many people of all levels of the economic, social structure. And I'm thinking that Caroline's the one that put you up to that. The valor that little dachshunds have is unequaled.
Carolina Miller, yes.
Lastly, I don't know your private life, but I'm able to ascertain, and I'm certain that you're going to be at your place of worship on the Sabbath and the Lord's Day, as will the soon-to-be Governor Brad Little, and that gives me confidence and hope that truth will survive, and those that know God are prepared for laying down the next couple of decades. So I appreciate what you do, Kevin. Thanks, and enjoy being on the winning side when this all comes down.
God bless R&R.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye. You got to watch out for those dachshunds. They will ruin your life. All right, coming up next, Dwight, Tea Party Bob, and if you missed Cory Booker's comments, we'll share those with you as we start the day on the right side. Don't forget Glenn Beck after us on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM.
So my hope is that just beyond the vicious partisan rancor that is going on, beyond the accusations, we don't lose sight of what this moral moment is about in this country. And ultimately ask ourselves the question, is this the right person to sit on the highest court in the land for a lifetime appointment when their credibility has been challenged by intimates, people that knew the candidate well as a classmate? When his temperament has been revealed in an emotional moment where he used language that frankly shocked a lot of us. And then ultimately, not whether he's innocent or guilty, this is not a trial, but ultimately has enough questions be raised that we should not move on to another candidate. And that long list put together by the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society, move on to another candidate, because ultimately the Supreme Court is not an entitlement. Just because you went to Yale or were president of your class doesn't entitle you to the Supreme Court. This is a sacred institution. And the people that should be on it, whether you disagree with their political or judicial philosophy at all, the people who should be on the Supreme Court should preserve the integrity of the court and be beyond the reproach of these difficult partisan times.
Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 580-5436-580 KIDO. Good morning, Dwight.
Good morning, Kevin. Okay, so you just waved more red meat in front of me. I was set to talk about the media. Let me talk about Cory Booker and the Democrats. They are slick-talking liars and sophists. That's what their stock in trade is. And conservatives are inarticulate, for the most part, inarticulate and don't understand or are not experts on our issues. And we don't confront them on their lying. Now let me get to the media. Your guest didn't have a very good idea when you asked him what we should do about the media. Here's what the solution's going to come from the people. There's no getting around this, folks. All true solutions, all revolutionary solutions are going to come from us. Our politicians are cowards. Republican politicians are cowards for the most part. They are the paid whores of lobbyists. They hide out. They don't fight. Donald Trump is the only fighter, and we need to get behind him. Now, here's how to deal with the media. When a national network lies or engages in a cover-up of embarrassing truths about Maisie Ford or any other thing, what the people in Boise, Idaho can do is to confront. I know this is going to give you the heebie-jeebies, Kevin. To confront and go to the local affiliate of the network, including Channel 7 if it's NBC. Just pick one. ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS. Go and confront the station, for starters, just at the station, and call out the general manager of the station, the news director, and demand that they repudiate and apologize for what the national media talking heads have said and what the policies of the national networks are. Demand that they repudiate it and apologize, and demand that they give us equal time here in Boise. Now look, I am not suggesting that they're going to do it in the short run. They're not going to fold in the short run. What we do is we video everything, we put it up on YouTube, we put it up in other places, we put it up in alternatives to YouTube that will not censor it, and that we press release it all over the country. I think that doing this kind of stuff will actually wake up some activism among the conservatives, conservative Christians. We're sitting on our asses waiting for Mike Crapo to save us, waiting for Butch Otter to save us. It won't work. We have to stand up. Somebody said on your air, I think it was on your air, they said, put the pedal to the metal. Well, we're the foot on the pedal. We are the foot on the pedal, not the politicians. The politicians, Republican politicians are worthless to the degree that they are, and it's about, I'd say, 90 to 95% worthless and cowardly because we are lazy, and we're expecting them to do it for us. We've got to stand up. We're the key. I want to say one more thing. It would be really good if more people on your show would not spend their time and my time talking about what we already know. We already know about the problems. We need solutions, and we need action from the people.
And that's a great plan.
Kevin.
Thank you, Dwight. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Gabe.
Eric Everett.
And Kevin Miller in the morning. Joining us now, the publisher of the Gem State Patriot, gemstatepatriot.com. The lovable sweet prince of the Treasure Valley, Tea Party Bob, who was called out yesterday by a young lady by the name of Eva, and she's got some issues with you. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, Mr. Miller, I want to thank you for letting me on here today. I want to respond to Eva Gay's comments yesterday about me not being part of the crony Republican process of working for politicians when I don't agree with their policies. Eva's still trying to figure out why she lost the precinct election to me in 2014. Let me explain why. Eva never met the people she was representing in a district. Not one of the first people I talked to, and I went door to door in 2014, even knew who she was, except for those that she invited to her party. She works for the crony establishment, her and her husband, Jim, who was on a state payroll, and never for the people who elected her. She even had Otter and Little go door to door for her to see if they could get her votes. She still lost. You see, I'm not a phony, and unlike Eva, I spend a good deal of time researching what's going on in our state, and I've helped many conservative legislators get elected. They don't like that. I attend important meetings at the Capitol. I testify for the people, not for the party in power. I do my homework, unlike those who follow blindly. I am the thorn that sticks in the side of these cronies when they do the wrong thing. I don't go along with the mainstream Republicans. They that do the bidding of the crony politicians like Brad Little. When no one speaks up against the state, there is no resistance, and the people who run it become all powerful. I will never become a political lackey like Eva Yost. I'm an activist who works for the people of Idaho, and if that means going against the Republicans who are not living up to an expected standard of working for the people, then I'm a rebel with a cause, and I will oppose them. I didn't see Eva or Brad at the committee meetings to repeal the grocery tax, nor were they there to give testimony for the gun rights bill. I didn't hear Eva or Brad speak out when the grocery tax repeal was vetoed by Governor Otter. When they were voicing their opposition, did they voice their opposition to Obamacare exchange? No, they were nowhere to be found. In fact, Brad was for it. Cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars in higher premiums. Where were the voices from them during the Wi-Fi scandal that cost taxpayers tens of millions? Or when Correction Corp of America ripped off the state for Lord knows how many millions of dollars with no investigation? I don't support Brad Little because he has done nothing as lieutenant governor to show me he deserves to be in the highest office of our state. He won the election with a plurality of 37% and used some dastardly tactics to do it. I do my homework. I'm just getting so frustrated here. When Brad gets in office, he's going to be the fox in the hen house, as he was the former chairman of IACI and the most powerful lobby in Idaho. I don't believe tigers change their stripes. I always say, if you see a weed growing in your garden, don't water it. Pull it out. Just for Eva's edification, I did a survey yesterday of the entire precinct that I am elected to. There were 2 signs out for Brad Little, one on her lawn and one on another. So much for the support for Brad. So Eva, you better get your butt in gear and put some more signs out, or Brad may lose the election. That's about all I have to say.
I don't think Brad's going to lose the election.
Oh, I don't think he's going to lose either. That's unfortunate. But I'd rather have Brad than to have Paulette Jordan. This is what you call the lesser of the two evils.
So I take it you won't be following up on Eva's suggestion that you go down and make some calls for Brad Little.
You know what? Let them do all of the panhandling and catering to the cronies. I have no interest in it. If you don't work for the people of Idaho, you're not working, and you shouldn't get paid.
I'm sure to be continued.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you, Tea Party Bob.
Have a great day.
You too. Publisher of the Gem State Patriot, gemstatepatriot.com. Fox News next on a live report from the White House. What's the latest with Judge Kavanaugh? And your thoughts next with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
KIDO Talk Radio, time 8:36. I guess you could call this the Brett Kavanaugh theme song, Not Backing Down. We expect the Senate to complete their investigation. The libs saying it's not enough. The Republicans saying it's time to vote. And really, would you reward the Republican Party for not getting Brett Kavanaugh confirmed? And then you have people saying, we're still going to get him. The libs, got to give it to the libs. They never quit.
At the end of that meal, all the guys were like, hey, Don, let's go back to the Trump Hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. We'll hang out in the lobby. Some of them will have a couple drinks. Now, I know that in this week in particular, you're not allowed to have a beer if you are a conservative. Now, if you're a liberal, you can do cocaine and you can be the president, but that's okay. It's okay. We'll hold ourselves to a higher standard. It's fine.
And there we have it. Trump Jr. laying the smackdown. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And really, Obama, didn't he say he did cocaine and smoked pot and all that stuff? And he became president. But if you have a beer, you're not down with being on the Supreme Court. By the way, activist, actress Alyssa Milano had this to say concerning men.
Men are having a hard time right now. I mean, come on. I feel as though he is completely and totally belittling the intelligence of the American people.
But he's not doing it by accident, and neither is Lindsey Graham. They're speaking to a huge portion of the population who agree with them. What do you think about that?
Do they agree with him, or is he using some sort of like cult-like force to try to make them see that? I mean, I'm not sure if you were to have a real conversation.
The MSNBC anchor looked at the other one like, can you believe that she said that? Cult-like force.
With any American, whether they be Democrat or Republican, that they would side with this kind of behavior where we've reached a low where we're actually mocking people and their stories of hurt and of pain. Who are we? Who do we want to be as a country? What are we trying to project to the young people of this world, to the young people of this country? It's heartbreaking to me. And I think we are in a time right now that is very gray, right? This is the Me Too generation. What is happening right now is we are defining boundaries that have never been defined before. So whereas Trump might say that white men have it very difficult right now, I'm saying that women, young people, have had it difficult for generations and generations and generations, and we will not be silenced any longer. And if that means that men have a hard time right now, then I'm sorry. This is the way the pendulum has to shift for us to have equality. And
there we have it. So men are second-class citizens, and I love how she says young people have had a hard time for generations after generations after generations. And when you look at the suffrage movement, when you look at women in the workplace, I think, as Virginia Slims would say, you've come a long way, baby. I don't know if that's offensive these days. Holly in Caldwell, always holding us accountable on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning.
Hi, Kevin. One of the points I wanted to make was, it's kind of like we're cheering for a football team, but nobody has really discussed any of the real issues. And while it's horrible, the things that they've done to Mr. Kavanaugh, some of the real blazing issues in this is that he was one of the main writers of the Patriot Act. And people can Google Judge Napolitano and relationship to Kavanaugh with the Patriot Act, and they can get a full classroom thing explaining that. I think it's awful, but it's almost like we've been sucked into this dog and pony, yes, no, instead of are we really looking at the facts? I think too often in our country we're like a bad Dr. Seuss movie, and it's if you have an R or a D on your shirt, that's the one you want, or a blue or a red. But there's just a lot of common sense that seems to have gone out the window in this process. A lot of morality has gone out of the window in this process. And it makes me concerned that they're actually picking people for the Supreme Court that way.
What's the alternative?
Well, to talk about, I guess the alternative is they should be held to have to actually talk about his court cases and decisions. And this whole supposed morality thing is ridiculous, especially given the light, when Bill Clinton was in office, and we've already talked about it a million times, but all the women that he was actively having things going on with. And so they're not judging everything by the same higher standards. So maybe they shouldn't even be able to talk about morality, because obviously on both sides there's issues. So maybe it needs to be, does he, in a republic where we're ruled by law, does he follow the Constitution, and where are his court decisions? And maybe they shouldn't even allow a discussion of this, because obviously that has gone nowhere, and none of it was even proved by fact. And so obviously it's just been a big waste of time.
Yeah, but when you talk about Judge Kavanaugh and the Patriot Act, tell me who's a better judge. You can't even get Kavanaugh through. I mean, we can't get Kavanaugh through.
No. I mean, I'm wondering if we should select Kavanaugh because he was one of the writers of the Patriot Act.
Well, but who would be the alternative?
There's other people that they could appoint. The problem is we're at that point where no matter who they appoint, the left is going to devour them or attempt to. So that, I guess that's my whole point is how do we get past that? So
get rid of the left, unelectable. I mean, really, that's really what it comes down to, because, I mean, they're talking about, and look, Kavanaugh wasn't my choice. I'm a Bill Pryor guy. I'm I think the most conservative one is Bill Pryor. People have a problem with him because of his relationship with Jeff Sessions. Then you've got, I can't remember her last name, Amy, the female judge.
Yeah, the one that Feinstein attacked about being Catholic.
Right.
Yeah.
She's the most conservative of all of them. And yet Trump decided to be pragmatic and go with Kavanaugh. And a lot of conservatives before this started had a problem with him. So you're right. My point is, who else? I mean, it's, the lesser of two
who
evils,
else? I think that they're probably going to have to confirm him. I guess I'm just saying is the bigger issue is kind of like those women talking about, in our schools, we have created this mess with people that don't know how to critically think and are social justice warriors, and they take social studies instead of civics, and they don't know how our government really should work, and they feel entitled. And so we have a big mess on that end as well. So anyway, I don't know. I know that other caller called in and said people need to come up with solutions, but I think that by identifying the problem, then we know what we have to come up with the solution. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you have people that have called out the country. I mean, look, you're very close to the Bundys. Were the feds fair to them?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely
I mean,
not.
you have some people that play by the rules and other people that don't. That people that don't. That's really what we're seeing now.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole ridiculous attack on men and the disrespect of men and women by both sides is another huge issue.
Holly, thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day.
All right. Appreciate it. Back to Alyssa Milano, because she says because of the atrocities men have committed, it is time for men to pay.
Boundaries that have never been defined before. So whereas Trump might say that white men have it very difficult right now, I'm saying that women, young people, have had it difficult for generations.
Now, I don't understand young people, the most blessed generation that we have, the most technologically sophisticated, the young people don't have to work anymore, and yet for generations, that's what the beauty of being young. Maybe a generation or two, not whatever. Isn't that just going through the trials and tribulations of youth? You have a tough time. You have to struggle. Not according to Miss Milano, who says men You're second-class citizens.
And generations and generations, and we will not be silenced any longer. And if that means that men have a hard time right now, then I'm sorry. This is the way the pendulum has to shift for us to have equality and security in our country and within our societal views of what it means to be a woman. We are considered less than.
So there we have it. To be a man, you have to be less than because women have been considered less than. What we're seeing here is something that the left has been waiting for quite some time. And I always equate things to Star Wars. No, not the new Star Wars, not the politically correct Star Wars, but the old Star Wars where you have a group of people trying to do good, the rebels, and then you have the Empire. And before the Empire was there, how did they get into being? Well, through stealth, through a group called the Sith. And to me, when I hear Milano and Booker and others, you had people that have done very well. Alyssa Milano, was she exploited when she was in the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Commando? Was, Cory Booker, was he exploited when he became a United States Senator? When he was the mayor of Trenton, New Jersey? When he, became one of the most powerful people in the country? Is the country that bad? How many millions of dollars has Alyssa Milano made posing for photos because she's an attractive young lady? Is that exploitation? And when she says sexual abuse has been institutionalized in America, you have people, thanks to Obama, that are moldable, that lack the critical thinking skills to go, yeah, this country is bad. Now, we, the last of the old guard, the vanguard of freedom, we, on the other hand, we are the keepers of the flame. We hold the mantle. Are we going to allow our values to fall? And we go back to 8 years of Obama. Donald Trump, not perfect, but he tells it like it is. But these people, and I've said it, these people have had an axe to grind for years.
And we cannot stand for it anymore.
There we have it. And they are calling us out day in and day out. I never thought that people would be going back to somebody's high school yearbook to derail somebody from being on the Supreme Court. I love it that now all of a sudden we haven't even seen the reports and we have the networks already decrying it as if Dianne Feinstein has sent them the talking points. Here we go.
That the truthfulness of Kavanaugh's testimony was not something the FBI could look into, nor his drinking habits. So,
there we have it. They couldn't look into it. They couldn't look into who actually signed his yearbook. They couldn't look into it if he actually hugged the mascot. They couldn't look into it as if he ever had a detention. I know you had a detention, Brett Kavanaugh. Judge, everybody went to detention. Judge, you were late. You're lying about being late for class. Nope, can't make the Supreme Court.
Washington Post asks, is this a sham investigation? Josh, is this bad for the FBI?
I talked to a former colleague last night.
Is this bad for the FBI? Let's go back to where the Deputy Attorney General wanting to wear a wire to entrap the president.
Told me, she said, look, we know what's coming our way. I mean, this is yet another example of the FBI that's been thrust into the middle of politics, essentially. And we see what happens when...
Who wanted the FBI to investigate? Who wanted the FBI? The competent FBI, kind of like James Comey. Remember, Comey was good until he was bad. Comey was good until he was bad. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Your call's next with me, Kevin Miller, on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio.
Overnight, potential key witnesses in that FBI investigation are speaking out. They're frustrated after they say they were ignored by agents investigating claims of drunken sexual assault by Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. In a statement overnight, attorneys for Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who accuses Kavanaugh of sexually assaulting her in high school, her lawyers saying, we are profoundly disappointed that after the tremendous sacrifice she made in coming forward, those directing the FBI investigation were not interested in seeking the truth. And in a new report by Ronan Farrow of the New Yorker magazine, multiple classmates of Brett Kavanaugh say they worry the investigation is incomplete. Kavanaugh accuser Debbie Ramirez telling the New Yorker she's alarmed by the fact people who were key to corroborating my story have not been contacted.
And there we have it. That is from Good Morning America today. Good morning. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM with Kevin Miller in the morning. And we've had, a couple minutes, a couple hours of the Kavanaugh FBI report. Now, let's go through this. And by the way, phone numbers, we'll get to you in a minute, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. 7 FBI background checks. The Senate Judiciary Committee investigating him. Background checks for every job that he's had. Sailing through the first nominating process. No big issues. And then all of a sudden, the ambush right before the vote. It doesn't you don't have to be in a court of law to say this just stinks. I don't have to ask you if you love America. I don't have to ask you when you look into your family each and every night what motivates you. I don't have to ask you really anything because I know where you are. And I also know what we are up against. Boy, it sure would be nice if we could just go sit back, hang out, and be like everybody else in the Matrix and not give a rip about what really is happening to our society today. But then we would have a good man being left behind. Now, some people have said to me, internally, Kevin Miller, you're out on a limb. Kevin Miller, that's not good. Kevin Miller. We have always, for our time here, taken a stand on the issues. Because really, that's what this format's about. It's about you taking a stand, me taking a stand together. Not sitting back and going, ooh, ooh. Don't we have enough of those spineless devil's advocates? That's really what really the media does, the libs. And you can always tell a lib because they never take a side when they take a side. Here it is. You are either with us and America and traditional American family values, or you're not. That's simply what it comes down to. And when you have Alyssa Milano saying men should be put in the background, don't we have enough of that with the media? Don't we have enough of that from the mainstream press? Boy, it would sure be easy to just be like everybody else.
Go enjoy your beer and ride your ATV and watch sports. We'll run the country.
That's what they're counting on. And I applaud you. I applaud you for listening to this show every morning. I was talking to a gentleman. He goes, Kevin, I'm on the road a lot. And I listened to I tried to listen to the music, and after 4 months, it drove me crazy. Thank goodness that you have Glenn Beck, Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, and you and the Miller Militia in the morning. It just drove me crazy. But that's what they want. They want us to be pablum. They want us to be saplings, spineless. And let's hope, and in this show we say pray, that they do the right thing. And Kavanaugh is on the Supreme Court. You have relatives in other towns, it's time to call them up and tell them to vote Republican. We're seeing what the alternative is. It's back to Obama, Pelosi, Reid, and the usual suspects. Traffic and weather together, Kevin Miller in the morning.
At the end of that meal, all the guys were like, hey, Don, let's go back to the Trump Hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. We'll hang out in the lobby. Some of them will have a couple drinks. Now, I know that in this week in particular, you're not allowed to have a beer if you are a conservative. Now, if you're a liberal, you can do cocaine and you can be the president. But that's okay. It's okay. We'll hold ourselves to a higher standard. It's fine.